You're about to spend tens of thousands of dollars on a car. But what if the brand behind that car isn't going to exist in 2 or 3 years? What if your dealer already knows and nobody told you? Right now, 6 major car brands are quietly collapsing. And if you're shopping for a car in 2026, this video could save you from one of the worst financial decisions of your life. Stay until the end because the number one brand on this list is still selling hundreds of thousands of cars every single year, and almost nobody knows how bad the situation really is. When a car brand collapses, it doesn't happen the way you'd expect. There's no big announcement, no emergency broadcast. Dealerships don't put up signs saying, "We're in trouble." Instead, it's quiet. Model lineups slowly shrink. Dealers start merging or closing.
Resale values begin to tank, and by the time most buyers realize what's happening, they're already stuck holding onto a vehicle that's bleeding value. With dwindling service options and a manufacturer that can barely keep the lights on, this is the reality for millions of car owners right now. And in 2026, with new tariffs reshaping costs, EV transition stumbling, and global sales numbers in free fall for several brands, the stakes have never been higher. So today we're counting down 6 car brands that are dangerously close to collapse, ranked from concerning to critical, whether it's financial disaster, catastrophic decisions, reputation-destroying scandals, or simply getting crushed by stronger competition. Each of these brands has a story, and each story is a warning. Let's get into it. Most people watching aren't subscribed, and they're the first to miss important updates. Don't be one of them. Subscribe now. We start at number 6 with a brand that was supposed to rewrite the rules of the luxury car market. A brand that promised German-level quality at a fraction of the price. That brand is Genesis, the luxury arm of the Hyundai Group. When Genesis launched as a standalone brand, the pitch was genuinely exciting. Stunning designs, premium interiors, advanced technology, and price tags that undercut BMW, Mercedes, and Lexus by a significant margin. On paper, it looked like a no-brainer. Why pay more for a badge when you can get the same experience for less? But here's the thing about luxury buyers: they're not looking for a deal. They're buying a statement, and that's exactly where Genesis has failed to deliver. Despite selling nearly 75,000 vehicles in the United States last year, that number looks completely different when you put it next to BMW's 371,000 units, Lexus's 346,000 units, and Mercedes's 324,000 units. Genesis isn't competing in the luxury segment. It's lingering on the edges of it, unable to break through. The perception problem runs deep. For a lot of buyers, Genesis still feels like a Hyundai in a tuxedo. A new logo and a premium price tag doesn't automatically translate into prestige. Brand identity in the luxury space takes decades to build. Genesis has been at it for less than 10 years, and the cracks are already showing. The ownership experience hasn't helped either. Many Genesis vehicles were sold right off Hyundai dealership floors. Hardly the kind of white glove experience that luxury buyers expect when they're spending $60,000 or $70,000. Then came the reliability headlines. In 2022, Genesis recalled multiple models for fuel pump failures that caused vehicles to stall without warning. Their electric vehicles, the G80 EV and the GV60, were pulled back for power loss issues. Reliability scandals are hard to survive in any segment, but in the luxury market, where trust is everything, they can be fatal. The tariff situation made things worse. With many Genesis models relying heavily on imported components, prices went up at exactly the wrong moment, and their EV ambitions are already unraveling. The electric G80 has been dropped. Reports suggest the G70 and the electric GV70 may soon follow. The GV60, which was supposed to be Genesis's foot in the electric door, is already losing ground to better-funded rivals. If the brand can't find its identity soon, Genesis risks becoming an expensive footnote. And if you're considering buying one today, understand that you may be buying into a brand that's quietly retreating from the market. Number 5, Jaguar. If Genesis represents a brand that never quite arrived, number 5 on our list represents something far more painful. A legendary brand that threw away everything it had built, Jaguar. There was a time when Jaguar was the definition of automotive prestige: sleek sedans, thunderous sports cars, the kind of car that turned heads not because it was loud, but because it was effortlessly elegant. The Leaping Cat wasn't just a logo, it was a symbol, an entire lifestyle. That Jaguar is essentially gone. In 2024, Jaguar made a decision that shocked the industry. They pulled the plug on almost their entire lineup. The XE, the XF, the F-Type, the I-Pace, the E-Pace, all gone across major markets, including the United States. The only model still standing is the F-Pace SUV. That's it. One car representing an entire brand. The reasoning was bold, a complete pivot to electric luxury. New EVs are planned for 2026. But here's the problem. In the meantime, there's almost nothing to sell. Dealers are sitting in empty showrooms, customers who walk in have nowhere to go, and the brand is burning through loyalty it spent decades building, all for a future that hasn't arrived yet. And then there was the rebrand. If you haven't seen it, Jaguar's new brand identity launched in late 2024 and became one of the most talked about marketing disasters in recent memory. The iconic leaping cat logo was replaced with something that critics immediately labeled as cold, corporate, and completely disconnected from everything Jaguar stood for. The launch ad featured no cars whatsoever, just abstract visuals and stylized models in colorful outfits. The internet response was swift and brutal. Even people who had never owned a Jaguar were outraged. The CEO stepped down shortly after. That's how bad it was. Making things worse, Jaguar has never been a reliability champion. RepairPal ranks them 29th out of 32 car brands with a reliability score of just 2.5 out of 5. Owning a Jaguar has historically come with significant maintenance costs and unexpected repair bills. Resale values are tanking, dealerships are closing, and the parent company, JLR, is essentially being kept alive entirely by Land Rover, which continues to sell strongly while Jaguar becomes an increasingly expensive distraction. Unless those 2026 EVs are genuinely revolutionary, and unless Jaguar can somehow rebuild consumer trust at the same time, the brand is staring at extinction. For buyers, the math is simple. Avoid until further notice. Number 4, Mitsubishi. Number 4 is a story of a brand that once had everything and slowly gave it all away. Mitsubishi. In the late 1990s and early 2000s, Mitsubishi was a cultural force. The Lancer Evolution was a rally legend. The Eclipse was a street icon. The Montero conquered off-road terrain around the world. Mitsubishi stood for something real: performance, capability, and a kind of mechanical toughness that earned genuine loyalty. Then the wheels came off, not all at once, but steadily, in ways that left permanent damage. In 2000, it came out that Mitsubishi had been systematically covering up customer complaints about serious mechanical defects for years. The cover-up scandal was enormous. Trust collapsed overnight. They hadn't even fully recovered when, in 2016, they were caught falsifying fuel economy data for over 625,000 vehicles. Executive resignations, police raids, lawsuits. The company's market value dropped by half. The damage was so catastrophic that Nissan had to step in and buy a controlling stake just to keep Mitsubishi from going under. Financially saved, but institutionally broken. Since then, Mitsubishi has been drifting. In 2002, they sold nearly 345,000 vehicles in the United States. By last year, that number had fallen to just 86,000, and 2025 made things measurably worse. New U.S. tariffs stalled shipments, leaving thousands of vehicles stranded at ports. Prices had to be hiked, a devastating blow for a brand that survives almost entirely on budget-conscious buyers. What's left of Mitsubishi's lineup is thin. A handful of crossovers, most of them aging, all of them outmatched by competitors at the same price point. There's no performance narrative anymore. No identity, no vision. Even the reliability story, one of the few remaining positives, has gotten complicated. Owners report persistent CVT transmission failures, suspension issues, electrical problems, and engine stalling. These aren't the kind of problems that generate word-of-mouth sales. Mitsubishi still has the badge, but the badge no longer means what it used to, and for anyone thinking about a long-term purchase in 2026, that's a serious concern. Number 3, Infiniti. Number 3 is the brand that had arguably the best shot at true luxury success and walked away from it voluntarily. Infiniti. If you owned a G35 in the mid-2000s, you know exactly what this brand was capable of. That car was remarkable. Athletic, rear-wheel drive, beautifully engineered, with a soundtrack from its V6 that made every drive feel like an event. The FX series redefined what a luxury SUV could feel like. The QX80 was a statement of quiet, muscular authority. Infiniti had a genuine identity. It was the performance-focused Japanese luxury brand with the soul of BMW at the price point of a smarter choice. Then, somewhere in the mid-2000s, the executives got nervous. Instead of doubling down on what worked, they chased trends. Performance made way for generic crossovers. The brand identity blurred. Customers who loved what Infiniti was didn't love what it was becoming, and new customers had no strong reason to choose it over Lexus, Acura, or even German alternatives. The numbers tell the story clearly. In 2017, Infiniti sold 153,000 vehicles in the United States. By 2024, that had fallen to just $58,000, a 10% drop from the previous year alone. In response to collapsing sales, Infiniti made a move that sent a clear message about the brand's direction. They shut down standalone dealerships and folded remaining operations into Nissan showrooms. That is not the behavior of a brand that believes in its own future. The lineup is nearly gone. The QX50 and QX55 ended production in 2025. The Q50, Infiniti's last sedan, has been discontinued. What's left? Two SUVs, the QX60 and the QX80. That's the entirety of the Infiniti brand in 2026. Reliability has also taken hits. CVT transmission problems haunted earlier models. Tens of thousands of vehicles have been recalled for engine failures, power loss, airbag defects, and brake issues. Resale values have suffered accordingly. Infiniti talks about a future with new models and an EV lineup, but promises aren't products. And right now, for anyone considering a long-term purchase, putting money into a brand with a two-model lineup and a shrinking dealer network is a genuine gamble. Number 2, Chrysler. At number 2, we have a name that will hit differently for a lot of Americans. Because this isn't just a car brand, it's a piece of American history. Chrysler. This is the brand that introduced the world to the production Hemi V8. The brand that invented the minivan, a vehicle category so practical and family-friendly that it literally reshaped how American families lived and traveled. For generations, Chrysler wasn't just a car company. It was part of the American dream, a symbol of domestic innovation, family values, and roads that stretched to the horizon. In 2005, Chrysler sold over 640,000 vehicles in the United States. By 2024, that number had collapsed to under 125,000. That's not a slump. That's an 80% decline from its peak. And 2025 is tracking even lower. The lineup has been gutted. The Chrysler 300, one of the most iconic American sedans of the modern era, was discontinued in 2023. The Voyager exists mostly as a fleet vehicle. The Pacifica is the only real consumer model keeping the brand technically alive. And even that is losing ground. Rivals like the Honda Odyssey, Toyota Sienna, and Kia Carnival offer more technology, better reliability, and dramatically lower depreciation. Pacifica sales fell 11% in 2024 alone. The Airflow EV was supposed to be Chrysler's lifeline, a bold electric vehicle that would drag the brand into relevance. Stellantis canceled it mid-development. Too expensive, already outdated before it even launched. Perhaps the most chilling signal came from Carlos Tavares, the former CEO of Stellantis, who warned last year that several of the group's brands could simply cease to exist by 2026. Chrysler is widely believed to be among them. For current owners, this is already becoming a real problem. Vehicles losing value faster than expected, service networks becoming harder to access, parts availability shrinking. When a manufacturer is fighting for survival, the people who suffer most aren't the executives, they're the customers. Buying a Chrysler in 2026 isn't just a risky bet, it may be buying into a brand that doesn't make it to 2027. Number 1, Nissan. And here we are. Number 1, the brand that will genuinely surprise most people. Because unlike every other name on this list, this one is still selling nearly 1 million cars a year in the United States alone. Nissan. Let that sink in. A brand in genuine danger of collapse, moving 865,000 units in the American market last year. That's what makes this story so alarming. On the outside, the numbers look fine. On the inside, the company is in a state of crisis that industry insiders are calling existential. Let's go back to where this started. For decades, Nissan was a global giant, engineering excellence, affordable performance, bulletproof dependability. They gave the world the GTR, a machine that became a legend. The Frontier, the Armada, the Altima, vehicles that defined their segments and earned fierce loyalty. Nissan wasn't just selling cars, it was building relationships with buyers who came back again and again. Then, in 2018, CEO Carlos Ghosn, the man credited with saving Nissan from near collapse in the late 1990s, was arrested for allegedly hiding compensation and misusing company assets for personal gain. The corporate fallout was severe. Internal trust shattered. The alliance with Renault and Mitsubishi fractured. Nissan lost direction at exactly the wrong moment in automotive history, when every major decision about EVs and technology investment had enormous long-term consequences, and Nissan made the wrong calls. Globally, the company reported a staggering $4.5 billion loss, with operating profits falling 90% in a single year. Worldwide sales dropped from 5.8 million units in 2017 to just 3.3 million in 2024. In response, Nissan announced layoffs of nearly 20,000 employees, halted production at multiple plants, and began shutting down manufacturing facilities around the world. The electric strategy has effectively been abandoned. The Ariya EV, which was supposed to lead Nissan's charge into the electric future, has been pulled from the US market. 2 additional upcoming EV projects for America were canceled entirely. This is a brand that is walking away from the future of the industry with no clear plan for what comes next. The Maxima, Nissan's flagship sedan, a car that represented the brand's premium aspirations, was axed in 2023 as sales evaporated. The Altima is on a similar trajectory. The vehicles that remain are aging, and the competition has surpassed them on nearly every measurable metric. In 2024, Nissan attempted to merge with Honda in what would have been one of the largest automotive combinations in history. The talks collapsed when Honda reportedly demanded total operational control, something Nissan couldn't accept. Since then, Nissan has been urgently seeking other partnerships and investment alliances. According to internal sources cited by multiple industry outlets, the company may have as little as 12 to 14 months to secure a major investor or strategic partner before its situation becomes unrecoverable. Read that again, 12 to 14 months. And yet, walk into any Nissan dealership right now and you'd never know. The sales staff will talk up the features, the financing deals, the model range. What they won't mention is that the company behind the cars may not have a viable independent future. For buyers, this creates a very specific kind of risk. Warranty support, parts availability, software updates for connected vehicles, dealer network stability. When an automaker is in this kind of survival mode, every one of those things becomes uncertain, and it's the customers, not the company, who feel it first. Here's the hard truth that no dealership will ever tell you. Buying a car is never just a transaction. It's a long-term relationship with a manufacturer. And if that manufacturer is collapsing, struggling, or quietly retreating from the market, you're not just buying a vehicle, you're taking on their problems. In 2026, with the automotive landscape shifting faster than ever, the brand badge on the hood matters more than most buyers realize. Every name on this list, Genesis, Jaguar, Mitsubishi, Infiniti, Chrysler, Nissan, represents real financial risk for real buyers. Some are further gone than others. Some may surprise us and recover, but none of them deserve your money without serious research and a clear-eyed look at what you're actually getting into. Do your due diligence. Look at resale value projections. Check the dealer network in your area. Read the financial headlines about the manufacturer, not just the car reviews. And think about where you'll be in 5 years, not just 5 minutes after signing. The best car purchase you make in 2026 isn't necessarily the shiniest one on the lot. It's the one that's still fully supported, holding its value, and backed by a manufacturer with a real future. Which brand on this list shocked you the most? Drop it in the comments below. I genuinely want to know. And if you know someone who's considering buying from any of these brands right now, do them a favor and share this video. It might be the most valuable thing they watch before making that decision. Like the video if this opened your eyes, subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. Because the automotive world in 2026 is changing faster than anyone expected, and we're going to keep you ahead of it.